Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and wherever you are watching this video. And for today, this is a very interesting topic kasi marami nagtatanong sa akin about immigration advice and I cannot even speak actually on anyone's behalf kasi I might say or not the right thing na appropriate sa case nyo. And I'm privileged to invite my friend who is a licensed immigration advisor. And let's welcome Joseph Chambao, a licensed immigration advisor. So hello Joseph.
Hi Faith, how are you?
I'm good. So thank you for saying yes kasi maraming mga students or aspiring students na nagtatanong about any immigration advice and I was just a student. So para ma-make sure na tama na yun, I invited you here. Topic for today is about licensed immigration advisor explains New Zealand student and work visa. This is a quick full guide that you can even use if you are considering or planning to study or even migrate to New Zealand. So let's start our question. Are you ready?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So first, can you briefly introduce yourself and your experience as a licensed immigration advisor here in New Zealand?
Yeah, thank you, Faith. So I just got my license last December 2025. I'm on a provisional license. So although meron tayong mga tatlong types of license, diba? Provisional, yung full, and sometimes limited. But normally yung provisional and of course yung full yung very prominent. So ako provisional ako, meaning meron akong supervisor na nag-guide sa akin, nag-assist sa akin sa mga applications ko. And also, mind you, lahat ng sasabihin natin dito, siguro may date naman to, di ba? So as of today or as of, let's say, 2026 of, March 1 na ba ngayon? 28, March 1. March 1, 2026, ito yung parang mga policies na nakalagay sa operational manual and even immigration New Zealand. So disclaimer lang, if ever makikita nila itong video after 6 months or even, actually marami magbabago ngayon eh. This coming August 2026, this coming, actually 9 of March, mag-iiba na yung median wage. So just a disclaimer na ito was actually taken live on 1st of March 2026. So yun, I'm on a provisional license and therefore I can provide immigration advice. Legally.
Ayun, so we are speaking to a legal immigration advisor. So just beware na kailangan meron din silang license number.
Yes.
That's the one that we should make sure when you are trying to find an immigration advisor yourself. So thank you for that. And the usual question, what types of visa applications do you usually handle as of now?
So as of now, I have already handled post-study work visa, AEWV, ito naman accredited employer work visa, partnership-based visas, ito naman yung mga visa na, for example, yung principal applicant, nakapag-apply na ng visa, gusto nila isama yung kanilang wife or even kanilang partner. And also dependent child visas. Ito naman yung syempre yung mga anak nila na gusto nilang isama sa application. And also, of course, in the future, marami rin ako makukuha or ma-handle na student visas.
Ayan. So, dahil marami na siyang sinabi, but since I was a student and ang maraming target audience, actually usual audience, I mean, na nag-reach out sa akin are students. So, my question would be, what are the basic requirements of a New Zealand student visa? Can you just give us like a quick glance if they are planning to apply for a student visa?
Actually, dami kasing requirements to begin with eh. Pero yung pinaka-generic na requirements, syempre kailangan, number one, kailangan mo ng school. Kailangan mo ng offer of place. So you need a certain qualification or program na gusto mong aralin. Kasi student nga, as a student, you need a program. And then second, of course, kailangan mo ng mga basic like passport, kailangan mo ng funds that are genuine. And I think importante rin dito, bona fide applicant. So kung bona fide applicant, meaning, yung in good faith na gusto mo talagang mag-aral. So marami ditong mga discussion about bona fide applicant kasi as a temporary visa, applying for a temporary visa, you need to really present yourself as a genuine applicant na you really want to study in New Zealand. So therefore, ang student visa, masyadong broad kasi ang student visa eh. Ang dami nagsasabi na parang mahirap, sabi na madali. But it all depends on how you present their case.
Okay. Yan. So, thank you for that question. So, next would be, is it better to apply through an agent or directly?
That's a very good question. No? So, maraming mga nag-a-apply naman na diretso na. At marami rin nag-a-apply na gumagamit ng licensed immigration advisors or even education agents. So, I think ang masasabi ko dito, it all depends sa sa estudyante or sa applicant. For example, kung ikaw medyo hindi mo gustong talagang aralin or basahin lahat ng mga instructions na nakalagay sa Immigration New Zealand website, and also gusto mo maging convenient na babasa ko na lang yung mga requirements. So siguro pwede ka mag-hire ng licensed immigration advisor who can help assist you. And even you can also hire education agent. Sa Pilipinas, marami tayong mga agents na credible, authorized, and even accredited with Immigration New Zealand. So kailangan hanapin nyo yun, yung mga nandun sa mga listahan na credible talaga. And you can also look for example, school na meron silang accredited na mga agents. But at the end of the day, importante dito na informed decision yung gagawin mo. You can use an agent, you can use an LIA, or you can do DIY. But for me, I think importante lang dito, pag nag-apply ka ng student visa, importante dapat alam mo lahat ng ginawa mo kung ikaw magdi-DIY ka. Pero pag hindi naman, I think it's better to ask an expert who can really provide you yung mismong expert advice.
May follow-up question ako kasi you mentioned yung list para malaman nila kung yung isang immigration advisor is really a genuine or registered immigration advisor. So where can we find that list that you're talking about?
You mean to say yung mga list ng mga LIAs?
Yes.
Kasi if you can Google yung Immigration Advisors Authority or IAA, nandun yung listahan ng mga lists of immigration advisors na as of now active. Meron dun mga inactive din. So you can actually check if andun yung, for example, you can type my name, Joseph Emmanuel Cambao, dun sa mismong Immigration Advisor Authority. Lalabas dun yung parang lisensya ko, yung aking license na under provisional ako. And at the same time, active yung aking license. Iba naman, may license pero hindi na active. Siguro hindi sila nakapag-renew kasi every year nire-renew to eh. The reason why nire-renew siya is for us to be updated sa mga current na provisions. Kasi ang policy pa iba-iba. So dapat as an LIA or licensed immigration advisor, we should be updated with the current guidelines na nakaset sa policy ng Immigration New Zealand. So you can look at it at IAA or Immigration Advisory Authority website.
Oh, yeah. So thank you for that. So before going to the next question, I'll also answer it by myself. I mean, speaking from someone who has been a student here in New Zealand. Yeah, he got his point that if you don't want to, stress yourself reading all the immigration rules and regulations, so better apply or get a help of an immigration advisor. Or speaking from my experience naman, since I'm just a first time applicant last year, I considered hiring or seeking help of an immigration advisor. It's because I'm not, just to make sure that I'm confidently submitting the right documents. To the immigration of New Zealand. Yeah. So this is one of the most important questions because usually most of our students are family person. Either can be parents, would be study here in New Zealand. So can students bring their spouse or children?
This is a good question though, because sometimes I want to study,
Yeah.
and if I will study, can I bring my wife? Can I bring my partner, my dependent children with me during my studies and even after studying? So the answer here is all depends on the program and level of your qualification. So meaning, for example, like you, Faith, you have studied Master's Level 9. If you're going to study Master's Level 9, as of this moment, you can bring your partner with you. Meaning you can bring your partner or wife or husband, whichever. For example, ako yung nag-aaral, pwede ko dalhin yung aking wife. If the vice versa, if the wife is the one studying, you can bring your husband. As long as, of course, genuine and stable yung partnership. So another topic to kasi medyo malaki yung parang discussion about how to be how can you present a partnership that is a stable, credible, and genuine in the eyes of immigration. But I think in the end is important lang naman dito yung syempre true to yourself. Kailangan talaga you came into the relationship to endure and to for example maging yung true to yourself, not because you want to apply for a visa. So ibig sabihin, romantic relationship and even genuine.
Yeah.
Hindi lang basta you want to enter the relationship because I want resident visa. So hindi ganun.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for that. Since I'm single, so I don't have someone to bring with me. That doesn't apply with me. And the usual question is, how many hours can international students work? Based from the immigration rules that was changed last year. I think that was November, if I'm not mistaken, because I also had a friend who's currently a student. She told me that it's only 25 hours. Is that correct?
Mm. Yes. So actually, before November 2025, it was 20 hours per
Oh, I
week.
see.
If you are studying a certain level, a certain program that is like allows you to work part time during, for example, studying and even work full time during holiday period, ito yung parang guidelines, which is that 20 hours per week. Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng 20 times 4, di ba? 80 hours. So 80 hours per month. So 30 hours ako sa week 1, 10 hours ako sa week 2. It's not that. It should be per week. But right now, it's 25 hours per week. So, for example, you're studying, let's say, a bachelor degree, not master's, bachelor degree. And then, ang bachelor degree na yan, syempre, nasa NZUF yung program, approving school to deliver bachelor degree. So, therefore, you can actually work part-time, 25 hours per week, and also you can work full-time during period of semester break and even holidays. According naman yan sa mismong visa. Nakalagay yan sa visa or stipulated in your visa kung if you can work 25 hours per week. And with master's level, you can also work 25 hours per week during studying. But there are certain masters that you can work full-time. Ito naman yung research-based like what you have done. Si Faith, tinapos niya is master's by research in a certain school in Palmerston North. So therefore, she is allowed to work full-time. And also those who are studying level 10, ito naman yung PhD. They can also work full time because it's more about you're conducting research, you're doing like tons of work in your in the library or just random sampling about your survey. So in the end, wala na masyado tong classes eh. You're meeting a supervisor once a week. So kaya in a way they allow you to work full time. And of course at the same time you can apply your learnings at your workplace. So just to summarize, you can work 25 hours per week depending on the program and level of your qualification.
So, just a clarification, since you mentioned that sometimes if the standard hours would be 25 hours per week, but if it's school break or holidays, they can also work. Does that mean they can exceed 25 hours or still the same as 25 hours?
So, when you say you can work full time, it means you can exceed 25 hours per week. So, ibig sabihin, if you're, for example, it's a holiday period like Christmas, New Year, usually students will actually work full-time. So, when you say full-time in New Zealand, we call that full-time employment or full-time yung trabaho. Nasa mga 30 hours yan per week. But sometimes they go further. Like, they're going to work 40 hours, like let's say, 8 hours per day, Mondays to Friday. So, 40 hours yan per week. So, you can do that. Walang mali doon. As long as it's a holiday period. And semester break. So, dalawa yun holiday period and semester break because you need to align it with the school calendar.
Okay. Para kasi we cannot, hindi na rin ma-technical sa immigration. Kaya I ask, kasi most of the international students are even asking me, so paano nga ba yun? If 25 hours ba? Pero pag school holidays ba, okay lang mag-exceed? So, to answer that, it's yes. As long as it's school holiday, term break. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. So our next question would be this one. What common mistakes do Filipino students usually make during their application as someone who already processed few of the student visas?
Yes. I think common mistakes are yung the funds. So they thought that I have like say 2 million pesos in my account. Oh, I have genuine funds. So it doesn't mean that you have the funds right now. It means that it's a genuine funds. Kasi you have to justify where did it come from. If it's coming from, for example, a sponsor, there's a different type of sponsorship there. So you really need to make sure that those funds are legit, genuine. Hindi galing sa contractors. So, but I'm just kidding. But basically, it should be really genuine because immigration officers would look at yung pasok or enter inside that bank account. For example, you just been credited, let's say, 200,000 pesos, and then after a week, another 300,000 pesos. But your basic salary is around 80,000 per month. Bam, 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 80 per month. And then there's a sudden 300,000. So you have to justify that. You need to highlight that. So basically, importante dito is really need to make sure that your funds are genuine. It came from a legitimate source, or it comes from your sponsor. That is the best, I think, example. You need to talk to an LIA so they can guide you and assist you how you'll be able to present your funds Kasi very important to, a lot of students are being declined because of bona fide reasons of their genuine funds. So this is very important to note. Those should be taken into consideration. The funds. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So, most of the people also, nagkakaproblema minsan talaga sa funds. I mean, most of the people applying to study here. So, thank you for highlighting that. And this is the question that, I mean, a lot of, aspiring students would look forward to. So, we're done studying. So, what usually happens after finishing studies in New Zealand? You can like categorize it. We can start from level 7 because the usual level naman na naging course sa akin would be from level, they took courses that's under level 7, 8, and 9.
Under the current policies right now, if you have finished a bachelor degree, level 7, and you have studied that course or program in New Zealand, the entire program, for example, it's 3 years. So you will be eligible to apply 3 years post-study work visa because the duration of the program would be the duration and the mirror of your post-study work visa. Again, that's a bachelor degree. What if you study, let's say, a graduate diploma? Ito marami itong gumagawa. Graduate diploma level 7, it's just 1 year, 120 credits, 150 credits. But again, it all depends on what type of qualification. If it's a graduate diploma that is included in the green list, you may be eligible for a post-study work visa. But if it's not on the green list, again, you need to talk to your LIA, your licensed immigration advisor, because you may not be eligible for a post-study work visa. If you're studying level 8, it's not on the green list, then again, you can have a post-study work visa because it's a level 8. So the level 8, it's a postgraduate diploma, level 8. You can also have a post-study work visa, and it can be the duration of your program or your course. For example, it's 1 year. If it's 1 year, then it will be the mirror of your duration of post-study work visa. Now, the best part is if you're studying master's level 9, any kind of master's, it can be Master of Global Business, Master of Business Administration, Master of Science, Nursing, Master of Engineering, you will be eligible for a 3 years post-study work visa according to the latest immigration policies. So 3 taon agad yon, regardless kung, for example, iba-ibang program. But again, you need to study at least 30 weeks onshore. At least 30 weeks onshore with that particular program. And then you will be able to apply for a post-study work visa. But again, take note, there's some sort of deadline for you to apply for a post-study work visa. So, for example, your visa would expire, let's say, February 2026. So after 3 months of February 2026, you can no longer apply for a post-study work visa. Meron lang 3 months of window of opportunity to apply for a post-study work visa. So you should take note of that. Importante siya.
So you've already discussed the post-study work visa. So can you give us like a glimpse? What is a post-study work visa and why is New Zealand giving it to the students? I mean, as per the immigration of New Zealand.
That's a good question though, because post-study work visa are given to all those who have completed a certain qualification. I think the main reason is New Zealand government would like you to apply what you have learned in your qualification in the education provider that you have acquired in terms of the principles, the theories. So it will be somehow a hands-on learning when you go to the industry where you're going. The best part is I think the post-study work visa is an open work visa for some of the programs. Not all, not all. The post-study work visa is open. For example, you studied master's level 9. But if you studied, let's say, a graduate diploma na nasa green list, for example, it should be related to the industry. So again, you talk to your licensed immigration advisor. It's not all post-study work visa are open work visa. When you say open work visa, you can work in any employer, any occupation, anywhere in New Zealand. Like what you have done, Faith, diba? You have finished a master's level 9 recently, diba? Kaka-apply mo lang din ng post-study work visa. And you were given an open work visa. So meaning if you want to work in Christchurch, you can do that. Even you can work in as a, for example, healthcare assistant, that's fine. Even you can work as an admin, that's fine. So there's no specific location, specific employer, and even specific na parang trabaho na pwede mo puntahan. As long as, of course, it's in New Zealand.
Thank you so much. Yan. So next would be, is that true that not all courses lead to residency? So what can you say about this one?
It's like somehow a tricky question though. Not all programs or qualification lead to residency because again, even though it leads to residency, there's still some factors to consider when you apply for resident visa. Let's say, for example, Masters of Engineering. If you're gonna study Masters of Engineering, does it lead to residency? I think a lot of underlying questions there. First, what is the background of the student? Second, does it qualify for certain points for, let's say, skilled migrant category resident visa or even green list resident visa? So again, this question might be misleading. So I think you need to talk to a licensed immigration advisor, because again, not all courses will lead to residency, because there are a lot of factors to consider for you to apply for residence visa. Not to mention health and character requirements, and also English tests, the age, yan. Siyempre, di ba, parang if you compare New Zealand to other countries like Australia, iba yung cap ng kanilang age. But with New Zealand, medyo mas mataas konti, di ba? So, but it's better to look at your qualification and your background, and then align that background qualification to the program that you're going to study, because it will help you gain some points or even certain qualification and criteria to qualify for the particular resident visa that you're going to apply. So I think, again, very broad.
Yeah.
So it all depends on yourself, on your background, if you want to choose a particular program or course.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Because I mean, most of the students would also look forward for residency, but we also need to consider a lot of factors for us to get there. It doesn't necessarily mean that once you study, you will get this residency. It's really a process. That's the reality of still studying in New Zealand and jumping into the conclusion of, getting the residency privilege, just in case you would plan to have one. And the next question, this is another thing, another kind of visa that usually people hear online. Kaya I included it here. So what is accredited employer work visa?
A very common question for some who did not pursue the study pathway. What if I'm not going to study? What if I'm just going to work in New Zealand and maybe find an employer? So AEWV, or we call that accredited employer work visa, specifically I think pertains to, as the name itself, you should be working with an employer that is accredited, meaning it's specific employer, and also a specific location yan, kasi AEWV yan. And also at the same time, it should be really have certain criteria for you to qualify for that role. That is why some work visas, meron pa tayong requirement to have a job check. We call that labor market test. So we're gonna see, the employers are going to see and check if there are some local employees that can qualify for the job. Ito yung one way for New Zealand government to make sure that we are trying our best to recruit local citizens, local residents in New Zealand. Kaya medyo parang ang AEWV, it's not for all, kasi kailangan mo dumaan sa butas ng karayang din eh. So may job check to eh. Meron to parang job token. But once you have been approved, for example, you applied for the job and they haven't got anyone to apply, or there's some who applied but did not qualify for that particular role, then you'll be able to apply for that AEWV application. Because I think the process is, number one, dapat accredited employer. Number two, the job check should be approved. And then number three, you can apply for AEWV. So if you have anything in terms of doubt, I think you should ask an LIA, so they can actually provide you more answers.
Yeah.
Paano ba magka-job check? Paano bang mag-apply na AEWV? And qualified ba ako dun sa role? So yung mga ganong questions, I think you can ask an LIA so that they will be able to provide you more answers.
Okay. Thank you so much. So again, AEWV is given to those people na eligible in the labor market. Yeah. Just to sum it up. And next would be, what is skilled migrant category?
Okay. This is quite very popular right now.
Yes.
The SMC. It's a resident visa application, skilled migrant category, or SMC resident visa application, wherein you need to qualify for certain points for you to apply for the resident visa. SMC, I think it's actually going to change in the next coming months, sometime in August 2026. But as of now, there are certain points that you can claim. It's actually categorized into, for example, let's say one skill category, that is your income, qualification, or you are registered in New Zealand with a particular job. And the second one is your New Zealand skilled work experience. So bonus yon. But all in all, you should actually get at least 6 points. You should have 6 points to apply for resident visa. And not only that, SMC then is actually quite broad because it also talks about, for example, health requirements, character requirements. So there are a lot of things to consider with SMC. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think important dito is if you know that you qualified for SMC, you should apply right away because policies kept on changing. So if it changes, like for example, this coming August or even this 9th of March, like the median wage is changing on the 9th of March, you should apply before the 9th of March because they require you to have a median wage. So yung mga ganon, really need to look after yung mga policies that are kept on changing now and then. But with field migrant category, this is very popular because as long as you have reached the 6 points threshold, then you can apply for resident visa. And some of the other factors like, let's say, character, health, and even of course your English requirement, you need to look at it as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for that very detailed answer, generous answer, Joseph. And if you've got to reach until this point, and if you have a lot of questions running in your mind, you can put it in the comment section, and hopefully we can answer this. And hopefully, if we're not busy, we can make series of interview like this with Joseph, so we can answer your questions via video. So the next question is, what are the top 3 common immigration myths you want to correct since you're already a licensed immigration advisor?
Siguro the top 3 things na pwede ko i-consider as a myth is any program in New Zealand would lead to resident visa. So
School programs.
for example, course or qualification. In fact, even studying doesn't lead to resident visa because it all boils down to your background, to your qualification, because you're going to apply for, let's say, SMC resident visa, and it actually requires you to have certain requirement. So even though you haven't studied or you studied, it all depends on your qualification. So it can help you, actually, that's the answer. It can help you gain those points, but in the end, it's not an absolute answer. You will be eligible for resident visa. And then of course, another thing is, I think yung green list is the only occupation that is leading to resident visa. It's not only green list, marami pa po. There is, like, let's say, work to resident, WTR, that's the tier 2. And also there's, like, for example, types of WTR, transport sector, and even care workforce. So yeah, you really need to check if you will be qualified for that particular green list tier 2. But the green list tier 1 is pretty much like straightforward because it's actually, you can apply at that moment if you have certain, if you have reached the certain requirements that it needs for you to qualify for the role. So not all, actually, but at the end, it's more about your qualification.
And the last one.
The last one is more about studying is the only pathway to migrate to New Zealand. As we talked about a while ago, the AEWV. So, for example, you have found a work or even a company that would sponsor you. Why not go for it? Because I have actually encountered some of the Filipinos who actually went straight to the employer and requested if they can apply directly. And would you believe it, they were granted?
Wow.
Yeah, but again, it will run through several checks like labor market tests. They have to advertise the role. They have to see if there are no local citizens or New Zealand residents who will qualify for the role. Then if they do qualify, for example, I'm afraid hindi ka makakasama. But if they did not qualify and you are the one who is the best person for that role, then it's a job check. Then you can apply for your AEWV. And I think it's like rare in terms of percentage, but it can be done. You can actually look for an employer who can really sponsor you and you can have that work visa.
So thank you for that detailed answer. So ngayon, you've experienced how a licensed immigration advisor answer it thoroughly and accurately. So you also really have to choose carefully who is your licensed immigration advisor that you will be seeking help in the future. Okay, next, how important is choosing the right course and level in terms of if you're going to consider study pathway here in New Zealand?
I think it's a very good question because you need to look at first what are the occupations that are needed by New Zealand itself, by the New Zealand government or New Zealand society. For example, you might want to look at the green list occupation and see if the program that you're going to study is really on demand. And then second, you have to look at your background and profile, if it aligns with your experience, because it's really hard if you're going to divert. It can be done. Sometimes some students have seen that they have a background in IT, but now they're studying a childhood, early childhood, or teaching of early childhood, or they want to become a teacher. So it all depends, but of course you have to justify that if there's a shift or change of career mindset. But at the end, I think it should be really aligned with what you already have as an individual person. If you already have a qualification that is based on this experience, work experience, maybe you can align that for further studies. So therefore, you will just gain more experience for that particular role, and then you can actually claim for points for that qualification. So it's very important to really choose the right course and level, and especially if you're gonna bring your family with you, if you're going to settle in New Zealand for good. So you really need to check if it's the right level. Nowadays, I think in New Zealand government they're trying to recruit more. Master's degree level students or postgraduate students or even PhD students because they're providing you more points in the resident visa application. So you might want to look at it and see if I can be eligible for the post-study work visa, or sorry, for the post-study qualification or graduates, postgrad graduates. So at the end of the day, it's more about choosing the right course and level.
Thank you for that. So what I got would be you have to be mindful of your skill set, work experiences that you already have, and then at the same time your strategy on how are you gonna maximize the benefits of each level of studies here in New Zealand. So we're about to end, so stay tuned. What is your number one advice for Filipinos or even Asians planning to study or migrate to New Zealand, or can be to anyone?
There are a lot of things in my mind that I would like to provide you in terms of making that right decision. But I think my number one advice is really you should really make an informed decision before taking that next step, because it's just really hard because you're going to invest much on this particular let's say endeavor that you're going to take. So for me, it's more about taking that initiative to do research about for example, let's say New Zealand. What's the economy, what's the government like in terms of providing medical health benefits, and see if this is the right for your family. Is this the right for your children and even for your life after studying. It's just difficult because once you have taken the step, sometimes it's just hard going back again because you haven't invested much. So my advice is really do lots of research. Read some good maybe articles in Immigration New Zealand website, and also look for the right content. Sometimes the content would not be so legit in terms of credibility. So I think the best part is really look for the right source. So if you are actually, sometimes they just rely on Facebook posts of others. So maybe you have to question that because it's subjective. But maybe listen to a licensed immigration advisor, listen to the right people like your education agent who are accredited in New Zealand, and also talk to the people who are here in New Zealand. For example, Faith is here. I've been living in New Zealand since 2018, so we can provide you more information that what are the pros and cons. So I think it all boils down to right information, and also it's coming from the right people, so you can make an informed decision.
And if I were to answer as well that question, my top one advice or number one advice for anybody who's planning to consider studying or even migrating to New Zealand, if you are yet in the phase that you don't know what's the reality here, kind of like testing the waters at first, better not to put that investment in this, like in studying in New Zealand all alone and then left nothing out of your pocket. Because I heard most of the people, especially not only in New Zealand, but those people who are considering studying overseas, we are really looking forward for greener pasture. I mean, that's understandable. But let's not be just too focused on that. But, wag nating ilagay lang na put all our hopes in that one and in that one endeavor. Just have to make sure na at least you still have your backup funds. Just so you know that sometimes if things doesn't work out the way you are expecting it to be because of the immigration changes, because something happens that we even don't have control with. Yeah. Next, we're about to finish, so thank you, Joseph, for all that information you've given. So how can viewers find you if they need your proper immigration advice?
Thank you. free consultation.
Wow.
So initial free consultation for everyone in
For how
case
long?
not so long, of course.
Like 15 to 20 minutes?
Probably. But
Okay.
of course, generic requirements, yung mga
Okay.
ganyan, I can provide you some information about the eligibility criteria. But you can actually reach out to me through email. Through email, because I know some of are still living offshore. Let's say you're in the Philippines, you're in the Middle East, and even you're in the other side of the world, like America or South America. So you can reach out to me through my email, which is josephnzimmigration@gmail.com. And expect like a certain delay lang. For example, baka one day, baka lang one day. But I'll see to it. I can reply as soon as possible. But you can reach out to me through email, or you can add me in Facebook. You can add me in Facebook. You can follow me at Joseph Cambao. So search nyo lang yung ano ko, yung name ko sa Facebook, and you can look at my primary photo, family photo naman yan.
Okay.
So you'll see my child and my wife there.
Thank you so much. So for the last highlight question, I know that everybody's looking forward to. Is New Zealand still worth it in 2026? We're answering this as of March the 1st, 2026.
Yes, I think it's a big yes. It's a big yes. It's a big yes because it's worth it. I've been living here for I think 7 years now, 8 years,
Wow.
and the best part is my daughter loves the cool environment, the climate, and even the you can experience like you're very safe, very in a way conducive to raise a family. That's for me, but again, it's subjective because
Yeah.
sometimes you are, for example, you're single or you're coming here alone. But there are some community groups that can help you. Don't worry about that. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth it because if your priority is really, let's say, have a stable life and also live conducively with your family, safe, generally safe. This is the right place. This is the right place, and even the weather. I really love the weather. Right now, it's summer going to autumn na, no? Mag-autumn na. So it's like Baguio. It's like Baguio, mga 16 degrees po dito. 16 degrees Celsius. It's really cool. It's really cool. And if you want to experience snow, siguro isang flight lang yan papuntang Christchurch or Queenstown, or even 3-hour drive from Palmerston North to Mount Ruapehu, maka-experience ka ng snow. So masaya po, masaya. So I really encourage you, if you really want to experience New Zealand, come see it yourself.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain in words, but if you come here, experience it, you will experience the nature, the environment. It's so clean, and the best part is, I think for me, is raising a family. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So that's the answer coming from a family man and from the one who is single all alone. Yes, it's still worth it. I mean, trying to consider New Zealand because I've been here for 1 year and all I can say is it's safe. So I didn't experience, getting panic at late at night, just in case I came from home from work. So yeah, less crime, or I just don't feel if there's anything happening. So yeah, all in all, safety wise, it's worth it trying here in New Zealand. So thank you so much for that detailed, generous answer, Joseph. And if you came at this last point, I mean, again, we would love to have some series of this kind of immigration stuff with Joseph, of course, if he's not busy. And he's also offering like approximately 15 to 30 minutes of free consultation. Just send him the email, send him an email. That's his email, and then just email that you heard it from Faith's YouTube channel, so that he'll know that where did you got his email address. So that's it for now. Thank you so much and see you again in the next video. Bye.